you don't want to overcommit to run ads and buy those licenses up front when you don't know if it's going to work. I'd say we have a little allocated budget towards whitelisting every month. But we don't whitelist every creator, that's for sure. And also you just have to find the creators that have like the perfect personality that aligns with the audience. They have a larger audience as well, and like you see a lot of potential that they can create even more content for your ads and then just kind of integrating them into your ad strategy.
Without further ado, let's dive into one of the fastest growing companies in Europe, one of the smartest people in influencer marketing that I've spoken to, for sure. Sometimes even a little intimidating, I would say, when we find ourselves in a call, in a good way, yeah, in the sense that I feel like I'm going to learn something when I talk to you today. So maybe you wanna say like a brief intro to Kilo Health and what you're up to over there to kick us off.
Absolutely. So yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here today. And my name is Rugile, and I'm head of partnerships at Kilo Health. Kilo Health is one of the leading companies globally now in the digital health and wellness field. And we're on a mission to help people live healthier lives. So pretty much any area related to health, fitness, well-being is covered under Kilo Health umbrella. We have a lot of brands now, so from mental health to running to meal plans to cardiovascular diseases. So yeah, it's been a really nice journey for me. It's a little bit like working in 10 different companies at the same time and just seeing how influencer marketing works for every brand, because it's always different. So so that's me, that's Kilo Health, and let's dive in then.
Nice, super cool. So most of Kilo's brands are mobile app driven. That's fair, I think. So the topics today that we kind of hope to cover for those of you listening are really related to performance oriented as a topic. So how to actually drive return, and especially in the mobile app space. We'll wander a little ways away from there, I'm sure, just because I can't help myself. But yeah, let's jump in. So maybe you can say how your creator partnerships kind of look today generally. So as specific as you can be, at least, how many partners you have, how many countries, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so as you said, we're mostly like working with digital products. Some of them have like also some supplements or additional products within that brand. But yeah, we can focus on the mobile apps. So most of the products, they operate globally with a bigger focus on North America. So with the creator partnerships, we also work in North America and Europe, and it varies brand by brand, the proportions. But yeah, North America is the biggest market for us. And as most of the global brands, I'd say we work on the main social media platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, in some countries, on others as well. And in terms of the amount of partners, depends on the season and on the month. It varies month by month, but maybe around 200 plus creators a month we launch altogether across all platforms. And not all of that we do, in-house. We have some external partners that represent us in certain countries, and they help us onboard certain creators for different campaigns. So yeah, every brand or every mobile app has a different, goal with partnerships or different budgets, and there's no like one size fits all strategy for all brands, which also shows if we look at the content formats that we work with different creators. For one brand, it might work like the Instagram Reels might be a better content format, whereas the others focus more on TikTok or YouTube. So a little bit of everything, just always keeping up to date with how the space is looking like and analyzing the campaigns. We're very data driven, so that helps us direct our influencer marketing strategy always to
in the right direction.
Nice. Exactly.
And that's really what you're spending your time on, right? So your role is kind of to orchestrate this big machine globally.
Yeah.
The puppet master.
yeah.
How do the operations of creators, as I wrote. Like, how does operationally, how does this big system work? Because you must, as I know, you have kind of dedicated not micro influencer, but small influencer marketing teams inside of most of the brands. So it's a lot to keep up with, I imagine. I was kind of curious to hear just how operationally you've scaled this out.
Yeah, so our influencer marketing team has doubled in size in this last year, which is good to see that the channel is growing. But yeah, as you said, every brand has at least 1 or 2 people working dedicated to influencer marketing. I actually remember when 4 years ago, maybe brands, not only in Kilo Health in general, like brands used to think, a PR person or social media person will do a couple of partnerships and, that's how influencer marketing is looking like. So now that's never the case. If you want to do influencer marketing well and you're dedicated to unlock this channel, or you really need to have that dedicated team. And also depends if you want to work with the agencies more or build that strategy in-house. So you might have more people in-house working for the company or more external partners. So I guess we currently have up to 20 people in-house. Mm-hmm. And they're globally based as well. So some of them are covering European markets, some of them North American.
So how does each of the brands has, you said, 1 or 2 people for the most part. How does the responsibilities break down? I'm kind of curious. Do you then, each person is responsible for the full life cycle of the relationship, or do you sometimes break tasks up, or is there anything centralized?
So they are responsible for the whole life cycle. Mm-hmm. We have this also knowledge hub or network, which is centralized, the agencies or our database or the partners that worked well for one brand or didn't perform well, or that knowledge base is centralized. And then each lead of influencer marketing within the brand is responsible to build a strategy. I help them build roadmaps, and then they're onboarding in-house those creators, and then some of it with external agencies. And
who do you hire for these roles? I'm curious by background. Just this is a question that comes up occasionally when we talk to customers or whoever that are getting started. Is they have this idea, like you said, that everything has to be centralized somewhere in the social media team, and they can't really imagine a world where they hire someone specific for this, maybe because they see it as too much of an upfront investment in the beginning or this kind of thing. So yeah, I was a bit curious on the background.
Yeah, it actually surprises me how difficult it is to hire a person for this role. I'm actually currently hiring for 2 positions, and
apply at kilo.health/careers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of Kilo marketing, right? So social media background is always good because that means that the person understands the algorithms, what works, the engagement rates, different statistics and all that. So that's good. Ideally, we always look for a person who knows the metrics that we, would look at after the campaign goes live, and how to, see if the influencer has potential or doesn't have potential. Just have this critical mind when it comes to influencer marketing, and not many brands are doing so heavily performance-based influencer marketing. So sometimes people come, and they have ran brand awareness campaigns where they just measure CPMs or reach and engagement, and that's all great. Yeah. So it's not easy, but I guess PR as a background, social media marketing, or in general digital marketing in some other area always helps. But it's a difficult role because you also have to have strong soft skills, because a lot of it is networking, negotiations, representing your brand, standing your ground, and building those relationships, whether with agency or influencers, and then also, the analytical part. And it's a heavy workload, I'd say. It's for people who never work with influencer marketing. They just think, a couple of posts or stories, easy, right? You can launch those tomorrow, but it's a lot of work in the backstage.
Yeah, for sure. I think what's good, there's a good and there's definitely the challenging piece of having having to think about all these different tasks that the person would do. But the good news about what you're saying, I think, and how I think about it as well, if you agree, let's see, while most of those things are very important, for example, they have to be digitally kind of native, as you described. They have to have the soft skills to be able to communicate with people. They have to be smart enough to kind of learn this, maybe more, at least the definitions of ROAS or whatever. I think the good news there is that those people don't have to have 10 years as like a technology background to do that kind of thing. And oftentimes they're kind of hungry young people who are looking for their first thing in like a company that's not lagging way behind the curve in the marketing space. So the good news is that there's lots of those folks actually coming out of uni and so on. Yeah, at least you don't need that 10 years experience to get started. I think that's important to keep in mind when you're hiring for this.
I see that young people pick up the things that they need to learn pretty fast as well. So there's no like exact formula on what's more important, the experience or the personality. Sometimes I see a person that I see is like super like a self-starter or sharp, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, even though you haven't launched a single influencer campaign, I believe you'll be really good at it.
For sure, yeah. I think they just have to be hungry, and I think what I've seen work really well in this space when I hear stories of people hiring is look for people who this isn't. It's definitely their way into their career. Maybe is a good place to think about it. They've got a little bit of social background or whatever, but this is going to be the place that the direction they want to go. But not that their immediate goal, that they don't think of influencer marketing as an internship. There's some people who are like, I'm going to do influencer marketing for a while so I can go make movies someday, or so I can start my own YouTube channel or whatever. And I think you want people who are really passionate about the partnerships aspect. And
that influencer marketing is not this narrow little channel on its own, because it's becoming like the integral part of the whole marketing action pool, right? So even at Kilo, we're just always trying to look at it both like in a holistic way and seeing what else it does, from just driving sales to integrating it into other channels. So you're working both like with the creators, but also with Facebook. You're learning how to measure the impact on the ads, on CPA, on many different things. Maybe you'll be using them in email marketing as well. So I like that it's not just plain, like campaign after campaign launch, but it's becoming a little bit more of a broader.
Yeah, I think so. A friend of mine at Google, Seam, who we had on the show as well, he did a course called Data Driven Influencer Marketing. He has an analytics background, and one thing he talked about in that course was how influencer marketing sits at the intersection of paid, owned, and earned media. So the stuff you pay for, the stuff you create yourself, and the stuff you earn from the community. These are your different types of media in a marketing company, and or in a company doing marketing. And the interesting thing was that every study, at least that he talked about, was that brands that can master those three things together outperform the companies that can master only two or just one. And yeah, it was like an interesting way to think about creators in general, is how they sit at the intersection of paid, owned, and earned, and how if you can really master that, then you effectively capture the three, which is pretty neat. Let's dive into performance then, like you said, on this performance-oriented idea. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how the idea of performance plays into how you do things. Yeah.
I also thought that I don't like the performance-driven influencer marketing as a term anymore.
Okay.
Because it's all good. This morning, actually, before the podcast, I thought all the companies are performance-driven in a way, right? It's just more what your goals are. But anyways, yeah, so for us, when we say performance marketing or performance influencer marketing, we look at a lot of data, both before selecting influencers. So no surprise, we use Modash for some of that. And yeah.
Kilo.health/jobs.
Fair. Yeah. So we look at the analytics of the profile. We look at the categories that perform well, that have like better engagement, and then we're CPA ROI driven. So we try to maximize returns on our efforts. But I'll come from a little bit further actually. When a brand comes to me within Kilo or outside of Kilo, and they say, "Hey, we want to do influencer marketing now. We feel like we're ready, and let's do this." And I always say, "Are you actually ready? Are you sure you're ready for this like long journey off a roller coaster? Because it's not an easy channel to unlock. It's super, slow, and you can't answer the question if it works or it doesn't within a month or two. And as I always like to compare, let's say if you launch a Facebook ad or Google ad and it's not working, you just turn it off and you move on. Whereas with creators, you sign the contract for, I don't know, a couple of thousand, and it's not working, traffic is not coming, conversion rate is awful. You can't go back. So I always say that the brand has to stand strong before you commit to this, and be just very, very patient, because you have to test a lot. And like with the first campaign, let's say when you're launching your very, very first campaign, you can't really have ROI as a goal, I say, because your goal is to have the learnings that you will be applying to your later campaigns when you're building them and growing that channel. Obviously, it depends on the industry. My knowledge is mostly focused on the health and wellness, but maybe your first campaign is ROI positive, or you have ROI 2, and that's all great, but you can't have those expectations right away. So first campaign, you learn a lot. You analyze the data, what worked, narratives worked, didn't work. Your brief was good, no good. Influencers misunderstood certain points, or maybe you had some tracking issues, or something else.
By the look on your face, I can tell you're speaking from experience.
Yeah. So and then once the campaign goes live, we look at a lot of things. So from the tracking links that we give influencers, obviously we analyze what's happening on our website and or mobile app, and we look if that campaign had an additional effect on other performance channels. So if it's, I don't know, European country, does it help us with, Facebook ads or other things? Do we have bigger spikes in traffic or something else? I believe that if you ask an influencer marketer anywhere of what their biggest challenge is, it still is attribution. It's it's really difficult. So even though you're like very performance focused and you measure all the things, you're never like measuring everything. But you can put the systems and processes in place to really to maximize your ability to measure, right? Like you have to understand what happens with that traffic, because now every user or consumer needs like several touch points in the marketing
in the journey.
Yeah, exactly, before they make that purchase. So just understanding that and how users actually decide to buy your product is very important.
Yeah, on what you said before about you always ask, are you really ready? And this the fact that you have to go through some learnings. I've had a similar experience. We always push companies really hard that if they haven't at least got one other channel working super well, to not even think about influencer marketing, because you don't want to bet the house on this channel probably. Yeah, and you'll do. You won't do as good of a job if you put yourself in that position, because then you have to see ROI immediately.
Right.
And I think, as you said, you have to run that first activation to kind of learn the whole process, and step by step. That's advice that we give very often too. You can scale that down really, really to quite a small. You can partner with one person. And then, or let's say 10, you have to secure 10 partners. If you can secure 10 partners, you'll learn a little bit about outreach and briefing and communication and pricing and creative and the publishing process and the contracting and payments. And at least you get through that cycle a few times. And maybe those are even just on commission only deals and smaller creators. Yeah. But we always suggest people even in the little details. So before you start automating email outreach, we always suggest to do things manually a few times, just to get the feeling for are people going to open this thing before you, for example, buy 1 million emails from us or whatever? Then are people going to open your email in the first place? And so that's just a tiny detail, but on the campaign level, I think it's quite similar, actually.
Not only for the performance part, you need to run those 10 creators, but also to see what works, how you have to present your product, like what are the selling points to influencers, because they get so many emails a day that you also have to stand out to catch their attention. You can never expect that, like after running 10 creators, you will know if like the channel works for you or not, especially on a platform like TikTok. You launch 10 creators and it doesn't pay off. Does it mean that TikTok is a bad platform? No, it's just wild and the algorithm is crazy. So you just have to keep on working, but you have to have time and
Yeah, I'm not sure how one of the things that keeps me up at night is the number of companies that I can't convince of this fact. We talk to so many companies who either they bet the house on a selfie, they're starting this small company, they're growing a little bit, and their whole dream for their whole life has been to be an entrepreneur with a little Shopify store, this kind of thing. They have this expectation, that they're going to publish a TikTok and their life is going to change forever. And you really need to think of it as a system, as you said, and to deconstruct the system into its pieces, optimize the pieces slowly, and then once your system's working, then I think you can scale it out. But speaking of systems, you mentioned measuring ROI and that kind of thing, and I love that you mentioned the kind of second order effects. So things like, I think you said increased traffic, or how does your system of measuring return look now?
Yeah, so first of all, tracking links for each creator, no surprise, and then promo codes, because with a promo code you are able to track it when the sale happens elsewhere. That applies also to the mobile app. So basically for every brand, digital brand, you just have to find a way to separate that audience in some way, whether you give your influencers a different offer, right, that is not available on a default landing page, or some other way where you can later look at that audience in the best way you can. But through the tracking links, mostly we track the sales.
Okay, so you do links and promo codes, and then you use vanity links, like dedicated landing pages for modash.io/Rugile or whatever. And
exactly.
Got you. Okay. But you mentioned looking at the second order impacts as well. Can you say a little bit about that? I don't know too much about this, actually.
Yeah, so that's not there's no like easy formula or easy answer. But I think you can run certain tests, let's say, to see if there is any effect. Like later you just look at all your performance channels and see if there is any unusual activity on the website. I don't know, influencer traffic usually has like better conversion rates, so maybe that helps you with other channels as well, like to raise the conversion rate. But also I think you have to be doing influencer marketing for a while to actually see the additional effect as well. So no short answer, but I think the data team in our company really helps us see those things, and they come to us and they're like, hey, what was happening on this day? Because they know that if there's some unusual like wild traffic,
Spike,
or I don't know, spike or something, and then we look at like, what else did it do,
Do you ever run an activation with the purpose of increasing those more second order effects? So I can say that we do. For example, we have some SEO is the core of our growth strategy at Modash, and so we have some target keywords, and then we'll have creators produce content around those keywords that drives people to run the search and look for our page, basically. And it's been super, super effective for SEO when we could get the creative to work. It's quite challenging to convince somebody to leave TikTok to run a Google search, but when it does work, it works like crazy. And so we've tested it in a few different, also for localization, for example. If we launch landing pages in Sweden, then we'll maybe partner with a couple of creators to just drive some traffic there really quick. But I don't know if you've ever tried such a thing with SEO, or maybe in tandem with Google Ads or something like this.
Yeah, so we do it in a little different way. let's say we want to enter a new market, or we already are in that market and we see that it's working, showing potential. So then we might do, an integrated campaign, take a brand ambassador, or try to work with creators in a bigger way. So it's a longer term contract, and that way we measure, the whole campaign and see how all the channels were performing during that time. I guess that would be like the closest we get to working towards secondary effects.
Gotcha. Yeah. When you have plenty of downloads to drive, then I think you don't think as much about the second order, which makes tons of sense. Speaking of downloads and being digitally native, kind of having apps primarily in this kind of thing, I think lots of app companies, digital first products, even like ours, have a lot of trouble with attribution. We know that there's good things happening, but we can't always tell exactly what those good things are. Any tips and tricks or life hacks for folks in that position?
Yeah, as I said before, like promo codes. I know that App Store is actually quite strict with the promo code implementations in your app. So you have to be. Yeah, I'm not. I know that our tech team works towards all those things. But yeah, so looking at that, and then also usually like brands also have a web presence, so maybe you could use a little bit of that in combination to driving that traffic into the App Store as well. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but like just looking for ways to not to lose that traffic, just maximizing your tracking efforts.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So if you have a particular drop off in that user journey that's causing like a the black box to appear. Okay, we can't see anything that goes from here to here. I think finding ways to circumvent that pathway, building bridges across the black box is a good idea.
I have actually a quick story for tracking
nice.
The apps. I think a couple of years ago, Google Play did a study, and they were analyzing some mobile game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that mobile game was working with a lot of YouTube creators, and they were giving the URL link to direct the users. I don't know if it was just a register, create an account, or something like that. And they were not doing anything in that period else apart from creator marketing. And then Google Play actually measured that there was 4 times more sales happening within the App Store, Google Play, obviously, within Google Play, than through those tracking links. And no one was using even, like some of them were using promo codes, but some didn't, even though, people are driven by discounts. But it just showed how, even though you give discounts, even though you just will never see the full picture. But especially for digital products, like a lot of your sales go there, but you don't know if it, like, also YouTube has a much longer tail effect than other platforms. So those sales are coming in, throughout a couple of months period, and you just never know what's the total amount. But yeah, that just gave a better idea of what's the percentage of sales that could be going into those platforms.
Yeah, totally. As a consumer, I can say I'm so lazy that you might have to get in front of me 3-4 times for me to remember, like 8 Sleep mattress, something that I've heard 8 times. If I go buy an 8 Sleep mattress today, there's no way that I'm going to Google for a promo code. Like, right. I'm just too lazy. So exactly. I remember 8 Sleep through Huberman and every other podcast on earth, basically. But I don't remember the promo code. Maybe it's one of their names or something, but if I don't get it right the first time, I'm definitely not Googling around for it. So then your system really relies heavily on links and promo codes. Any other parts of this? Any interesting attribution methods you're using? Or how has this changed over time? Maybe it's also interesting. Any learnings over time?
Yeah, so like 3 years ago, let's say, we were looking just at the tracking links and the promo code sales, and that was it. And we thought that's our ROI goal is connected exactly just to the tracking link. But then we made sure that we track additional conversions as well. So obviously I can't tell you how we do the whole attribution thing because it's been acquired over the years of experience.
Of course, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But
And I think the most advanced stuff isn't practical for most folks anyway.
yeah,
But
I think
yeah.
exactly. It depends product to product, and in different countries, different things happen. Like if we're working heavily in the US, we might not see any spikes and any additional things because it's such a huge market that a couple of creators don't do as much as elsewhere. So yeah, just really like diving into the analytics and like data analysis part and just seeing, yeah, if you can find any correlations.
Got you. So I might take a stab at this guesstimation here. So probably you take all of your ad channels, you pipe all that data into some dashboard looker or something like this, and then by having these things side by side, if I really boil this down to the simplest form, then by having these things side by side, you can say, okay, we went live with Kim Kardashian yesterday, or 100 mini Kim Kardashians. Yeah, maybe the promo code usage didn't go way up, but look, this dashboard right above it, our just web traffic has skyrocketed, and our job applications have skyrocketed. And yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Thinking about your whole set of adjacent metrics as part of the impact of the creator partnerships themselves.
It just also wanted to look at it from the other side, that it's important to look at the content pieces or content formats and platforms, because some platforms work better for brand awareness. There's more creativity. There are fun ways to present your product. Others are better for direct sales. So you have to be very strategic in the split between platform and content types to see where you are willing to take more risk, because you don't know if that's going to have a big effect, but it's good for branding, for building communities, and later on it will pay off. And then also, working with the platforms where it's like guaranteed traffic and sales.
One thing you've been really good at is this localization piece and expanding to other markets. That's one. We've talked a little bit about kind of whitelisted content or putting budget behind creator content. That's one I'm really excited about. I'd also, since you've started doing more with physical products, I'd love to hear if there's any learnings or kind of what's the difference between digital and physical products, if there's any learning there. But do any of those things pique your interest in particular?
We can talk about the paid content, about whitelisting and...
door number 2. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So how does that work at Kilo?
So we started doing whitelisting maybe 2 years ago or a year ago, pretty early. And in the beginning, we didn't know what to expect or how to actually do it. Do we take just the creators up front with whitelisting rights and run them? Or do we launch them first organically and then do whitelisting? Because how do you know? Yeah, you don't want to overcommit to run ads and buy those licenses up front when you don't know if it's going to work. I'd say we have a little allocated budget towards whitelisting every month. But yeah, we don't whitelist every creator, that's for sure. And also you just have to find the creators that have like the perfect personality that aligns with the audience. They have a larger audience as well, and like you see a lot of potential that they can create even more content for your ads, and then just kind of integrating them into your ad strategy for that month as well. So it really sometimes helps you get that ROI and get a good balance when your organic performance is maybe not as good as you expected. But then with whitelisting, you achieve that ROI that you were hoping for. So I think whitelisting is great. In the last couple of months, some brands that we were speaking to, they were saying that whitelisting is not working as well anymore for them. So I'm not sure if it's because brands are moving more towards TikTok and maybe Spark ads work better. But yeah, so still a part of the whole like influencer marketing strategy, but not with every creator.
Just to level set, in case you're listening and you're not familiar with this concept, then I'm like I'm a real charlatan over here. I haven't actually done this myself either. I've only learned through other companies that I've got the chance to talk to. So correct me if I'm wrong. But whitelisting, basically, you take the branded content and through one of the ads managers, whether it's TikTok and Spark Ads, like you mentioned, or Facebook Business Manager lets you do this as well. You can effectively like throw some money at that content, and it'll distribute to an audience as it would if you publish this as your own ad, basically. Yeah, is that a fair synopsis of whitelisting?
Más o menos. Whitelisting refers to Facebook always.
Okay.
So um, basically, the creator grants you access to their Facebook Business Manager, and
Yeah.
or you can do it through Lumanu, which is a Facebook partner. Then you can access that content that they're creating about your brand. Yeah, and your paid team puts the budget behind that content.
Hmm.
What you can do as well is target their follower audience with that ad. So meaning that even though the followers already saw the story, Instagram story or Reels, probably not everyone has seen it,
Hmm.
but you can make sure everyone has. Plus, you can target the audiences, broad audience of your liking. So that's really good because you just amplify the reach of that content piece, and it's beneficial for an influencer as well because you're bringing a lot of buzz to their profile, their following increases, engagement rate increases, and when that happens, they can raise their prices and they say, "Oh, I have a really good engagement rate. My audience really likes my content," and yeah. So it's good for both parties. But an interesting thing is that in the US it's so popular, whereas in Europe it's not.
Yeah.
So when you talk to a creator, I don't know, in Spain or France, they say whitelisting. Oh my goodness, you're gonna read my messages, you're gonna know all my conversations, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they really think that you'll take over their account, and they're very afraid of the privacy thing. So we're struggling with that in Europe still.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think that there's lots of development to come in the next years as far as the creators as entrepreneurs in Europe. I would say there's a
Yeah.
leap to take there. One thing that was interesting, what you said was that you're using that ad spend to kind of pull up the bottom 25%. You didn't use those words exactly, but that content that doesn't perform as well, then you're kind of putting some cash into it to pull that up to basically drive your to drive closer to the objective that you had in the first place. Have you tested kind of focusing on the top 1% of content and the highest performing stuff? Is there any additional gains there, or?
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
if the content that doesn't perform organically, like there's a chance that maybe in paid you will be able to get that ROI, but not always. And the same goes for your top performers who have a great ROI and you're whitelisting them, and sometimes it like really goes beyond your ROI and brings great additional results. Sometimes it just doesn't. So you just see the pattern. Like once you
Mhm.
whitelist some of the creators that didn't pay off, but their content is really high quality or speaks well to the audience, like maybe for some other reason they didn't get enough traffic or they posted at the wrong time and organically it didn't reach the audience, and then in paid it works. But yeah, I also would say whitelisting works with, not for everyone, but with bigger profiles. I think that has a bigger impact. But I see brands, global brands, how they're operating in Spain, for example, with whitelisting. It's interesting to watch, and
Hmm.
they take a different approach, and they work with smaller creators, but they do a lot of whitelisting with smaller creators. And I'm not sure if it's more like for brand awareness or for for sales, because small creators don't have as a big name or audience, and so it's more just for UGC content, I guess.
Any other advice you want to share with the fledgling Rugilas of the world who are taking their shot at creator partnerships, at scaling this out or starting it off the first time?
Don't stress out, it will work out well. Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
I
I think so.
actually remember when I launched my first campaign, and I didn't have that much like experience, but I selected really well like the creators. It was, I think, in Latin America, yeah, And I thought I'll launch them all in the same like the weekend, and they all went live. And I think the ROI was maybe zero point 0.2. I stressed out so badly. I even messaged the CMO and I said, I don't know what happened. I really don't. And yeah, anyways, but it's a lot of trial and error. And yeah, you just have to trust this path and, like apply the learnings that you acquire.
I like that. Yeah, I think we meet a lot of people who are so frazzled and overwhelmed with the complexity of the channel that they can't quite seem to break it up. So I think keep calm, carry on is a worthy piece of advice for this channel.
Yeah.
Do you anything interesting that you're focused on in the coming months or that you're aiming for this year? Any big obstacles or objectives that are like?
Yeah, maybe moving a little bit towards longer term partnerships, because, performance ROI, everything is great, but yeah, just integrating those well performing creators in a bigger way and like building that community around them. I think
Oh,
it's also an
nice.
important part that we have to do. So that, and in general, just growing the channel and the team, and also just I think we're moving towards a very like quality influencer marketing strategy, which is good, more sustainable.
Nice.
So
Any game plan for building this community, or how did you think about this? How did you know that was the next move?
yeah, so if you're running influencer marketing on a large scale, even though there are lots of creators, the ceiling might be coming closer. It will come at some point, right? You won't be able to keep up the spends and the pace. So you just have to think about creative ways to like use those creators and like the content that you have, or like building those relationships so it's more authentic. It's not just like promotions running all across. And actually, some of their audiences need a longer time to actually believe that this influencer trusts this product and recommends this product. So not being so salesy and pushy, but also just talking about the actual benefits for people's health of our products.
Nice.
So yeah, and also looking at influencers and trying to understand why their audience follows them, because stats are great, but also like, is that influencer popular because he or she was in a reality show 3 years ago and it's not relevant anymore? They just still have that following and some engagement. Is it because someone just became a mom and shares the best mom tips? Like, will your product actually be interesting for that audience at this particular time? So just analyzing the influencer profile from that side as well, and just seeing when is the good timing. It's actually interesting for us to also test same creators across different brands and see how
Ooh.
different it is. Like the same audience could be same, like products are in a similar category, but totally different reaction from the audience. So
Super interesting. Yeah, we've spoken to a couple of these big e-commerce aggregators. What's the big one? Razer Group or something like this. They buy these e-commerce stores and they own hundreds of them, and they kind of operationalize them and that kind of thing. And similar to what you mentioned, what they have thought about a lot and what they're trying to accomplish is to kind of have enough of a relationship with the creator that all of these different products can live at different moments in the creator's life, basically. So, for example, if you take a mom influencer, then as a person talking about parenting, as their child changes in age, then the products also change with that story, and so it's a very really interesting idea. I haven't seen anybody execute it super well yet, so I'm excited to see what you manage over there. That'll be fun.
yeah. Like, you can't ever be like 100% sure that this is now the perfect time, perfect influencer in the perfect stage of their life with a kid, or right, even when everything checks out, sometimes just still doesn't work. So even for us, we have a lot of data and patterns and things like that we know works for us most of the time. Sometimes it just doesn't. And yeah. Yeah, there's no 100% guarantee.
For sure. Nice. Well, thanks, Rugila. If that's that, then thanks so much for the conversation. I super appreciate your time. Always fun to hear what Kilo is up to and what you're up to. So, yeah, thanks a bunch. Any parting words? You want to plug the careers page one more time?
No, 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 no. Just wish everyone a lot of luck, the best of luck. It's not an easy role, it's not an easy channel, but it's very exciting, it's very dynamic. The people that you meet also are really, really cool. So I don't know, it's a great place to be, I think, and we're living now in very exciting times. So we'll see a lot of changes in
For sure. There's never been a more chaotic or fun moment to be in this space, I think. So super
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. And happy Easter, everybody. Happy holidays if you're celebrating. And thanks for being here on a holiday, by the way.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.